NATO countries, many NATO countries, be it France, be it Germany, United Kingdom, all of these countries are expanding their presence in the Indo-Pacific. How do you see India's evolving role in the Indo-Pacific amidst the growing security and geopolitical flux?
In the Indo-Pacific, China has the largest navy now in the world, 367 odd ships. US has adequate presence, but can it actually excise across the globe? That's a problem for it. Can all the other NATO countries come in? Yes, but how much of resources do they have? So that leaves the Indian Ocean region, big, huge area, which is continuously under by China. For example, Hambantota, Gwadar, Maldives, and so on and so forth, patrolling in the Arabian Sea against piracy. Of course, the name of piracy is there.
Advancements of digital tech and network systems and have expanded the domains of strategic competition. Modern warfare is shaped by technological advancements, be it cyber, artificial intelligence, quantum computing. They're redefining the traditional security domains. How digital tech will transform modern military strategies, public and military diplomacy. And to discuss all of this, we have with us Lieutenant General Dushyant Singh, DVSM, AVSM, retired Indian Army, and currently Director General of Center for Land Warfare Studies. It's a great honor for us to have you here, sir. Welcome to Geostrata.
Thank you, Darshan. It's my honor to be here on this podcast. I would also like to extend my thanks to Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Netherlands to India.
Indo-Pacific is the area in which we have this presence. We have many initiatives such as security and growth for all in region saga. NATO countries, many NATO countries, be it France, be it Germany, United Kingdom, all of these countries are expanding their presence in the Indo-Pacific. How do you see India's role India's evolving role in the Indo-Pacific amidst the growing security and geopolitical flux?
First of all, Darshan, let me impress upon you that India is a middle power now. It is rising. It is one of the fastest growing economy. It is having the largest pool of human resource available on the planet Earth. Let me put it this way: 50% of our population is below the age of 30, and if it is skilled properly, it is going to be the only probably workforce in that age group which would be making a difference, whether it is the Indo-Pacific or whether it is the entire planet is concerned. We are also a significant military power. However, the Indo-Pacific is seeing a kind of a challenge. I won't say a conflict in the immediate future, but there is a challenge, and this challenge has been posed by a number of factors, such as assertiveness of China in the South China Sea, East China Sea, on the borders of some of the countries, India being one of the primary ones. Taiwan is another flashpoint in this area. And it has also been exercising course of economic diplomacy through debt trap policy of its, because of which it has got control of a number of assets both in the South China Sea and the East China Sea, besides the Indian Ocean region. So therefore, I see India as a major factor in the Indo-Pacific in strategic balancing. And here, by that, what I mean is that we do not want to provocate a conflict, but at the same time, we would like the Indo-Pacific to remain free for various activities which the world requires in terms of trade, in terms of freedom of navigation, and things of that nature. So I see India as a great strategic balancing power between these kind of challenges which are there.
And we are collaborating with many countries.
Absolutely. And towards this end, while we have strategic autonomy as our, core principle of diplomacy, but it does not mean that we will avoid all kinds of partnerships. So if you'll see, we have Quad, we have trilaterals going on. We also promote ASEAN trade, BRICS, and so many multilateral forums, SCO. We are actually trying to become that connecting bridge which would be avoiding war. And as you know, our Prime Minister has also said that this is not an era of war, this is an era of peace. And for that, I think connectedness is very important. And India gets that ability. I would like to quote here the statement of Mr. Shashi Tharoor of yesterday. He says he has egg on his face. How did that get prompted? It got prompted because of India's nuanced stance on the Russia-Ukraine war, where India now finds itself in one of the better positions to negotiate possibly a future peace between the two countries. So this is how I see. There are a number of other factors. As we go along, we will discuss them.
Yes,
Right.
you mentioned collaboration, and one of the areas of collaboration is technology.
Yeah.
Tech is continuously shaping the global security dynamics. Whoever controls the tech will have control on economic landscape, and those who control economic landscape will have a better say in the global geopolitical landscape.
Yeah.
Young people play a very important role in development as well as in the R&D of
Correct.
those tech.
Correct.
Do you think that NATO member countries and India should establish youth-centric dialogue mechanisms to foster collaboration in emerging tech? Uh, how do you see the role of youth, young innovators and researchers in shaping the security policy of the future?
My answer lies in the initial part of my first question, which when I highlighted the youth of India. So therefore, it's a very, very welcome step that, youth should now be encouraged to collaborate. The disadvantage of somebody becomes an advantage of someone else, and at disadvantage of India becomes an advantage of somebody else. So somebody is strong on technology, somebody is strong on youth power, skilled manpower. Incidentally, I would like to quote here a figure of a study where there was a comparison done between India and our northern adversary in terms of scholarship, right? And this is measured in terms of number of PhDs, number of papers. China was hands down ahead of us, ahead of India. But where India scored was in the skill factor. Initial ratio between China and India in terms of quantum of output put across was about 6 is to 1. So 6 times China was ahead of us in terms of research, etc. But when we added the quality factor to it, it became 1.7 is to 1. That's the kind of, so that is called smart utilization of your manpower. And I think the suggestion which you are trying to give of youth-centric collaboration between NATO countries and India is very much a welcome step. And we are already doing this kind of a thing. If you see, take for example the DIN, the Indus collaboration which we are doing with the US. Similarly, the EU collaboration of TTC, Trade Technology Cooperation, which was launched in 2022. Through that forum also we are trying to collaborate in AI, cyber security, quantum computing, etc. So these are, I think, good developments which are taking place. India has also established a number of clusters for cyber security. There's a Hyderabad cluster, which was earlier Hyderabad, now it's a national cyber security cluster. Then you have Jharkhand cluster. Likewise, I think India, imagine, whereas Hyderabad was considered to be Silicon Valley and Jharkhand was back of the beyond area, but we have created a cluster there. So therefore, what I'm trying to say is that India is ripe uh, to actually leverage these connectivities which are taking place between various countries. We will not go into things like being aligned, etc. But partnerships definitely, collaboration definitely, exploitation of the academia is also very, very important factor in this kind of a collaboration. Some people say that there is no outcome of these kind of youth forums, etc. I say they are very important. And how do I say that? That is based on the fact that they shape the mind. So anything coming out of this youth forum ultimately reaches the policymakers, and it is the mind of the policymakers which will ultimately decide policy. So I think it's a very good suggestion. There are a number of advantages to this. So I welcome your point. I would also like to highlight that India is now, we may not be up there, right? We may not be up there, but in terms of AI, we are now the third largest investors, just behind China, but China is way ahead of us. 62 billion to 17 billion is a huge gap,
Much more relevant.
and the US is way ahead of us. But where we can collaborate is 1 lakh students in NATO country. They are from India. Now, this can be turned both ways. They could come to India and start making India a destination to come. Incidentally, I'll share yesterday, day before I was in a conference in some other forum. There, we have now the universities from foreign, I mean, we are talking Ivy League universities, coming to India and establishing their campuses here rather than the Indians going there to study in Stanford and Harvard and things like that. They are now coming here, and these are Ivy League. So I think there is this very good movement of NATO-India cooperation in the youth, which is going to really make a difference in the long run.
Rightly said, sir, because the youth of today is policymakers for
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yes.
Coming to the next question, it is about military diplomacy, and you have worked a lot in that domain.
Yeah.
Given the complex security landscape shaped by non-state actors, you also written 2 books on that. Non-state actors, weapons of mass destruction, proliferation, and how do you think India can collaborate with NATO countries to strengthen military diplomacy?
Okay, as far as military diplomacy is concerned, let me tell you, we tend to uh, downplay it. That's my first statement. That military diplomacy is normally uh, put on the second ladder. The first ladder is, of course, the public diplomacy, the foreign affairs, etc. Those are the people, and rightly so, because they are the ones who are making the policy. But military diplomacy plays the role of deepening that connect, right? And at times when there is a disconnect at the top, the military diplomacy connect continues. I'll give you an example. Bangladesh, we are having some issues because of the situation in Bangladesh. But military to military, we continue to engage. And it is this connect, Nepal, for example.
Even with the Pakistan.
Even Pakistan,
PMOs used to have.
I know, but what I'm saying is there is some amount of connectivity which helps in navigating through the complexities of international relations. But more importantly, where I would like to focus as far as military diplomacy is concerned, take for example Indo-Pacific. Now, in the Indo-Pacific, China has the largest navy now in the world, 367 odd ships. US has adequate presence, but can it actually exercise across the globe? That's a problem for it. Can all the other NATO countries come in? Yes, but how much of resources do they have? So that leaves the Indian Ocean region as a big, huge area which is continuously under foray by China. For example, Hambantota, Gwadar, Maldives, and so on and so forth, patrolling in the Arabian Sea against piracy. Of course, the name of piracy is there. But what I'm trying to say is they're trying to increase and they're also trying to circumvent this through CPEC, CMEC, those kind of things. So there is an inbuilt competition which may tomorrow turn into conflicts. Example, Philippines, what is happening? They are trying to extend the 9-dash line to 10, 10 to 11. I don't know how many dashes they're going to make. They are disregarding the International Court of Justice,
International Court of Arbitration.
ruling. So I think there is a scope. There is a scope for a huge military diplomacy, and it is because of this the Indian Navy has increased its capabilities in terms of we've also got 2 carriers, and another has been sanctioned by the government of India, and then we have ships which are regularly patrolling in the other parts of the Indo-Pacific. Recently, you must have seen Philippines. Our ships went to Philippines just as a solidarity for keeping the Indo-Pacific free for everyone. Again, I'm trying to highlight that we are not looking for conflict. We are looking for ensuring that whatever are the global commons, they remain used by everyone equally, an equal share. And I'm aware that the kind of trade, etc., which takes place through this, everybody is affected. We say that okay, China has a trade of about 80% oil goes through Malacca Strait, but converse is also true. Our trade also comes from the other sides. So I think there is some amount of convergence here, and we need to play the whole game a more nuanced manner. And towards that extent, our various forums which we have with NATO especially will come in a great help as far as our military diplomacy. And I'm not even talking of peacekeeping. As far as peacekeeping goes, today, because of our stance, if any peacekeeping force will be acceptable to all, it will be India.
Yes.
And India is one of the largest, one of the large contributing countries. We are, I think, fifth in the contribution list. But overall, if you see manpower, I think we are one of the leading ones as far as peacekeepers are concerned. And the acceptability because of our strategic autonomy policy gives us that heft to be that bridge which I spoke about in the initial stages. So yes, military diplomacy is very important.
And we'll come to the strategic autonomy part,
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
later part of the discussion.
yeah.
Now I would like to move the conversation from military diplomacy to public diplomacy. So NATO strategic document 2024, it makes a reference of systematic threats and possible expansion of institutional presence. How do you think strategic circles in India can develop collective public diplomacy engagement with NATO countries through minilateral and multilateral security conferences?
Okay, so I'll tackle this at three levels. One is the track one, which is formal government to government agreements, which are there. I mean, I can quote India, US, for example, BECA, LEMO, MRO, Kamkasa. And BECA came in very handy for India in one of the incidents vis-a-vis our northern adversary. So that's the government level. It's already going on. We need to further deepen it. And here we need to look at France, UK, and countries like that. And we're already having defense agreements. With France, we have a defense agreement. We have a defense agreement with UK. And we are also striving for free trade agreement with UK. Hopefully that should come across, and then that tariff battle which is going on, that may get offset because of all these agreements which we are trying to do. Global commons is an area where we are trying to do government to government agreement like COPE, etc. Although there are differences, mind you, we can't sort out differences overnight. They will only get sorted out by youth forums talking to each other, or other kinds of forums talking to each other, getting together, and then trying to come up with some solutions. So therefore, that's the government level. Then we have the 1.5 or the track 2s which we conduct. And here I would like to specifically give you an example of, as far as Indo-Pacific is concerned, of the IORA, Indian Ocean Rim Association, Rim Association. That is the 8th edition now. It is being run by India Foundation. And I went and attended the 8th edition of this particular conference. There were 45 countries which were represented, delegates over 400 of them from various countries. And we had, of course, the Middle East for the first time. It was done in Muscat. So even the Middle East got roped into it, and the expanse of Indo-Pacific was further broadened. Indian Ocean region was further broadened. And interestingly, we also had the rep from China in this particular conference. He was the rep of China in the Middle East. He was the senior most representative of the Middle East. So he spoke on this particular conference. And I would like to just quote from one of the statements from his address, and that was that China is a near Indian Ocean region power. I think that should give you the kind of forays which are trying to be made by people who are countries, state actors who are not really respecting some of the international rules-based world order. So we need to strengthen this bond through whichever means. So this track 1.5 kind of a association where you get to meet on the sidelines. Even the track 1 guys can meet on the sidelines and do something. Track 1.5 can do something. The papers can shape the minds. And the third part, which I talk of public diplomacy, is the youth. And here I would like to add the academia into it, right? See, if the academia is one place where people can discuss with their minds absolutely open, they can talk of things which possibly a person in the government cannot talk. And so we need to exploit these institutions. Even on the bigger conferences, on the sidelines, we must have a session for the youth. Last time I was planning this for the Chanakya Defense Dialogue, but somehow, since I didn't get too many entries, I could not do so. But this time round in the third edition, and let me tell you, it's a huge international conference, and all of you are invited for that. We do not charge any fees for that. So in that, we are planning to have us on the sides youth papers being presented as form of a hackathon. You may call it as presentation of papers. These things, when they come out in the open, they do affect the overall policy making of a country, region, or the globe. So this is the third level where we want the academia, government, and the think tanks. They all should come together and create such kind of the narratives in the environment which would promote peace, freedom, stability. India stands for world is one family. So I think that's the way India should go ahead.
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, India.
Yes.
As we are coming to the end of the discussion, I have you mentioned about strategic autonomy, and my final question revolves around that itself.
Yeah.
India's collaboration with NATO is, in a way, guided by its strategic autonomy.
Yeah.
You already mentioned strategic autonomy doesn't mean staying away from all the powers. It means engaging with all the powers to further collaboration based on issues that can benefit both the groups.
Yes.
So India's collaboration with NATO is a good example of India's exercising of strategic autonomy. How do you think the potential collaboration areas can NATO and India explore to boost youth-led conversational forums by retaining the spirit of strategic autonomy?
Okay. So whenever we talk of collaboration, the biggest thing which comes as a hindrance are the conflicts. When I say conflicts, I mean the points where we are at divergence with each other. For example, if India is negotiating initiative on technology, for example, or buying of weapons, etc., then the Russia factor gets into it. Okay, if we are doing something with Russia, then the US factor or the West factor would get into it. The whole aim of such diplomatic process is to allay the fear of the side which is having this kind of a reservation of our engagement by stating to them our own realities. Like, for example, today we have to go to Russia because of our equipment profile. But it doesn't mean that we are not diversifying. So if you see today, from almost 70% of our equipment profile being Russian, it's come down to about 36%. France has risen to 33%. US has gone to about 11%. And if some of the deals which are in the offing between US and India and other countries as well, France also, you might find the equation changing. So we are not looking at conflicts as such. So what I'm trying to get at is that I think we can work our way through despite these challenges, provided we pitch properly. And I must say that the government of India is doing that quite well, right? Because ultimately we are doing this to secure our our concerns. And in this case, say for example, Galwan, we stood against the Chinese, and therefore they also learned their lesson because of our certain action which we did, whether it was Doklam, whether it was Galwan. So therefore, we have to address our concerns, and if we have to address our concerns, we have to find the best way out. We cannot just blindly get into certain issues without considering all the factors, cost, quality, and so on and so forth. So this is a major challenge. But then there are low-hanging fruits. And these are the areas where we must immediately seize the opportunity and go to emerging technologies. I think without saying we should get into collaboration with NATO, and Youth Forum would be of a great help. We have already created, I mentioned to you, various youth forums, youth forums in the technology domain, cyber security cluster, the AI related research, etc., which we are trying to do through IDEX, which is the defense initiative. So IDEX is now operating with Diana, and in the US also with the defense innovators. So I think defense innovator accelerators. So both are collaborating in these. Only thing is we need to expand to the other countries also. It will be a mutual benefit to all. Then we have the areas of counterterrorism and hybrid threat, which we talked about today. Just for your information, I'll quickly quote this figure so that because you're getting late in your podcast. Pakistan is now the second most affected country as far as terrorism is concerned. as per the GTI ratings of 2025 after Burkina Faso. It is not the ranking which is important. It is the fallout of the ranking, in the sense the nuclear assets which are there. Those are, I mean, WMD threat which we were talking of, that is becoming more and more real. So, I mean, all the countries have to collaborate with each other, with NATO and India, through joint int sharing, and other aspects are there. So, joint int sharing is one of the ways to, keep monitoring the situation there, so that things don't go out of our hand as far as WMD is concerned. This is an area where we can cooperate with each other. Climate security, I think it's the lowest hanging fruit which we can take on, but yet we are so resistant, because of very, very, I would say, short term view of things. Maybe the short term view of things must be properly targeted by the youth forums to shape the minds of our political leaders and policy makers, so that they start looking at climate as a major, major threat. Then you have, the institutionalized youth dialogues, which I already mentioned, JNU, IIT, IIM. They must now get out of their, rote learning and echo chambers, come out, share their ideas with the public, invite foreign cross-border youth to collaborate with them, whether it is from UK, US, Germany, Middle East, doesn't make a difference. The mere fact that you meet each other halfway, you'll get some ideas, you'll get some thought process, hackathon and things like that. I think those are the areas which we need to exploit as far as um, cooperation is concerned. So I feel that Quad, for example, we have kept 4 of them. Why not extend it to Quad +2, +3? Include New Zealand in it, include France in it, South Korea. Yeah, South Korea into it. Although there are mind you challenges, the moment you increase the forum, then there are dissonance also taking place in that forum, like what we were seeing in the BRICS. BRICS has now gone heavy as far as membership is concerned. So you will find dissonating voices coming out. When it was small, it was much more cohesive. So, but then India is a entity which is in all. So I think that way somehow we will be able to connect with connect with each other, and try to move this process of making the world safe for the future a step up. So that's my view as far as strategic autonomy is concerned. We need to work for multipolarity. That is another area which we should, because it's easier to coordinate and focus on specific things in a smaller forum than in a bigger forum. Okay, so trilaterals are one of the ways which we can deal with India, France, Taiwan. These kind of India, US, Taiwan for cyber security. Cyber security, US is the most attacked country, followed by China, followed by UK, followed by Germany, then India. We are at the fifth spot. Germany behind us. So so this is the kind of threat which we are having. As far as cyber security is concerned, why not collaborate? I know some of the actors are also the players in this game, but then we have to find some way out of these issues which are bugging the entire world. And best way is to keep expanding the group which are for favor of AI, cyber security being properly regulated, so that they are not misused. Yesterday there was a question: is AI in one of the forums? Is AI a positive development or a negative development? And the answer by most of the guys was in Rasina. Most of the guys was that it's a positive development. But to make it positive, we got to have the safeguards. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful words of wisdom. We have talked about diplomacy, geopolitics, strategy. I have one final question for you. Many of our audiences are in the age group of 18 to 28.
Yeah.
They're very young.
Yeah.
You serve the country in the uniform, and even after the service, you are in the policy making. What advice you have for the youth of India and for the youth of the world?
Okay, see, when I was young, I am from a very humble background. I joined the defense forces because when I was in the 6th standard, of course, my father was in the Air Force. That was one issue. But, when I was in the 6th standard, I was in Pune, and there was an air raid. And we had to scramble to the nearest trench, which we had dug ourselves. And it was at that day when I decided, look here, I'm going to join the Air Force and I'm going to be a pilot. It was a young child's mind which was invigorated because of this particular incident, and then I'm going to take the revenge and things like that. It was simple, pure mind of a child. But as I kept growing up, then I realized the various nuances of war, what war has in store for it. But I still wanted to have that passion to join the defense forces to make a difference. I was declared unfit for Air Force because of my eyesight, so I joined the army. And what I realize is that you must let your ability to do what you want to do be driven by your passion. So this was what I thought, that since this passion was there in me, I continued to work towards it. I tried for NDA, I cleared it, then I got rejected for medical. I said no, nothing doing. I am still going to join the army. So because I got late in the call for the NDA, so I gave serious, and there I filled up my choice as army and I joined. So I continued with my passion. I think if you drive yourself through passion in whichever field you are, if you are in policy making, if you are a political science student, if you want to join the IAS, if you want to join any kind of a service, engineer, doctor, please follow your passion. And the second advice which I would like to give is that, and this I noticed based on my own experience of my own children. So this is something which is coming from my personal experience. Probably that is the sense of the entire Gen Z. And that is that, the Gen Z is in a hurry. Things don't happen in a hurry, especially if you want good things to happen. So hold back, work towards what you want to aspire. You will succeed. That's the way I look at an advice for Gen Z. No job is less, no job is more. Everywhere a person can make a difference, whether he is in whichever field he or she is, provided you do it with your passion and be true to your job. I think if these 2-3 things, if you keep in mind, you will succeed, irrespective of what is happening anywhere else, right? Around you. Don't fall prey to materialistic things very easily, right? Yeah, you will find a lot of things happening which are not going to be really helpful to you in your career. You may not realize it now, but subsequently you will realize it when responsibilities dawn on you. There is method in madness in our culture and civilization, and the best culture, to my mind, still resides in India. Tulsi Gabbard started her address by Jai Shri Krishna. So I end my podcast with Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna, sir. Thank you very much. It was a great honor to have.
Thank you.
Thank you.